Happy Friday or sad Friday, ever how you want to take it. Tennessee gone, one and done in the SEC tournament. 73-56 to Mississippi State today. I'm going to use the number one. The number one comes into play numerous times. They're the number one. That's the amount of times Tennessee did not lead today. They did not lead the first time today. The number one. That is the seed that just got flushed down the toilet today for the NCAA tournament. Don't really know what else to say on this. And the number one, I would rank this one up there at the top of worst performances of the season for this basketball team. Let's get into this thing. Frank Rock, House of Orange, thank you guys for tuning in with me. We'll go on this thing for a while. You can come in here and wallow in misery if you want. We can sit here and vent. We can go on all we want to about it. I'll kind of give some thoughts and give my opinion a little bit on it here. And I hope you guys will join in here as well. Got about 21 of you to start this thing off. Hopefully this thing will go up quite a bit. But Tennessee is picking the worst time of the year to have two performances in a row. Kentucky performance, not too bad. I mean, Kentucky played really good, shot really well that game. Today, awful. Absolutely awful. What does that mean for the NCAA tournament? I don't know. I don't know that it means a whole lot. Maybe it's a sign of things to come. Maybe it's just a case of, I don't know. Maybe it's a case of they get some rest and they come out refreshed and ready to go in the tournament. Here's what we know. Once again, same factors that come into play all year, same factors that came into play the first time these two teams play factored in again. Obviously, this score is a whole lot worse this time than it was the first time. But, got a few comments here, and I'm going to say I'm agreeing definitely with the most recent one just come up on here. There's no doubt about it. But my opinion on it, you guys know what I think about the SEC tournament. If it was not for the one seed at stake in this, I honestly wouldn't care. Honestly wouldn't care. Now, does it concern me, this performance? Yes. Did I like anything about it? I didn't like a single thing about it. I did like Jamal Meshack trying to take over late. Ziegler, I mean, he tried. Ziegler, he played a Ziegler game. He had his great moments. He had his not so great moments. Connect had a bad game today. And, credit to Mississippi State for basically playing him the way most teams rough him up. That's the way you have to play him. You can't let him sit there and take a game over like he has done before. I said it earlier on. I wanted Mississippi State in this game. And, with that in mind that Mississippi State could win this game. If you can't beat these types of teams, what's going to happen next weekend when you start the big tournament? What's going to happen in a couple of weeks if you advance past the first couple of rounds on it? What? This Rick Barnes and his team's got to look at other ways when you play a physical team. What can they do? Jonas Adu cannot match up with these physical centers. He can't do it. He had 10 rebounds today. I would say it was ineffective. And, the funny thing is Tennessee, let's see if it, let me look. With about a minute and something to go, they were actually winning the rebounding battle. They actually did win the rebounding battle 33-31 today. If you look at the stat line for Tennessee today, a lot of the intangibles look pretty good. I mean, you're shooting. That's where it was done. 56 points today. 19 out of 62 shooting, 8 out of 33 from three-point range. They did hit 10 out of 12 free throws. Mississippi State only shot 31% for the game. From three-point range, they shot 55% field goal. That's a pretty drastic difference right there. If you're doing math, of course, that's a 24% difference on here, and I'm sure most of us can do that. But, just hitting the comments, Sleepwalking Rick obviously didn't have them in the gym shooting at all. It was a bad shooting performance. And again, you got to give Mississippi State credit. They had a good game plan. They held this team to one of its lower totals of the whole season. It's a game that, Tennessee comes out in the second half. Looks like maybe we're about to make a little bit of a run. And then Mississippi State shut it down. I mean, you've got to give all the credit in the world to them today. Hats off to them for their game plan. Hats off to them for the way they played. I'm going to hit on a couple guys, and you guys probably know where I'm going to go with that. There's two guys in particular that I just don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. This is a pretty accurate, pathetic ass performance all the way around. But that's a fact. That's an absolute fact on it. And then Candace Lockwood indicate SV and Triple J are no shows at term time. They don't have the it factor. SV needs to sit. Those two guys absolutely infuriate me. They absolutely infuriate me with what they've done. Thank you to those guys for what they've done for Tennessee basketball. But I'm just going to be frank and honest. My name is Frank Rock for a reason. Tennessee can upgrade these two positions next year. Can you upgrade Dalton Connect? No, you cannot. Can you upgrade Vescovy and James? Yes, without a doubt, an emphatic, all caps, exclamation point, yes. You could absolutely upgrade it. Those two guys today, let's see, James, 0 points. He did have 9 rebounds, 4 assists on the day, 4 steals. So, I mean, he does a lot of good things. Scoring is not his thing anymore. Vescovy, 4 points and 1 rebound, 4 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals, 21 minutes for him. I'll be honest, guys. I just don't know what else to say about those two moving forward. I think if we're relying on those two, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. And you can't sit here and tell me that Santiago Vescovy is earning minutes over Jemai Meshack. You cannot do it. I've said it. You guys that have listened to me, I've said it on videos. I've said it all year. Meshack can score if you give him the opportunity. Can he score 30, 40 points a game? No. Can he score 20 points a game? Probably not. Maybe occasionally. But you know what? He was a guy who's brought it in that second half day. Come up with 10 points on the day, 3 rebounds for him. I'm sorry. I'm playing Meshack over him. He's a better defender. Ziegler, I know, won Defensive Player of the Year. Ziegler's not the best defensive player on this team. It is Jemai Meshack. And it's not even close. It is not even close. And, you know, hey, hats off to Ziegler for winning it, but there's times I'm like, I don't know, because he tends to get lost towards the middle when somebody drives and it leaves a guy wide open. Him and Vescovy are bad about that. A lot of those times it's those two. Now, are they bad defenders? No, not at all. They are really good defenders. But at this point, man, I want to see more Meshack than I do Vescovy. I don't need to see Vescovy. If I don't see him play anymore, thank you for what you've done on here. But I hope it changes. I really do. I would love to see those two guys go out on a high note. And the good thing is, today was not the end of the season. I've seen some comments. Well, Barnes teams, they don't show up when it matters most. Did this game really matter the most today? It didn't matter more than the South Carolina game. Didn't matter more than the Alabama game. Didn't matter more than the Auburn game. It's not going to matter more than next week. The only reason this game mattered today, honestly, and this is in my opinion, is because you had the number 1 seed on the line. It's gone now. It is gone. They were already talking about North Carolina moving ahead of them. I talked about that last week, that North Carolina could possibly move ahead of them. I had some tell me, no, there's no way. There's no way. Yeah, there is a way too. There's absolutely a way. If their numbers get close, North Carolina's ahead of them now on that seed line. North Carolina's going to have a real shot to win that conference tournament and go into that. And you have to factor in at some point, too, head-to-head. North Carolina beat Tennessee head-to-head. Does Tennessee have the better overall resume prior to this game today? Yes. Do they now? I don't think you can make a case for that. You can't. If you would have lost by a couple points, gotten beat at the end on it, sure. You didn't even lead in this game. They didn't even lead in this game. They got whipped today. Let's just face it, man. Let's call it like it is. They got whipped. I'm going to go back to Tim Bradley's comment. Let's call it like it is. Right here it is. If you're watching, reading on here, that says it all. All the way around. Pathetic ass performance. To quote Tim Bradley. Thank you, Tim. But it's truth. It's absolute truth. What's going to happen? Yeah, EJ Vols, I agree with you. That was, I think, what I said. I missed the first half, actually. I had to work a little bit today. You haven't seen previews videos because I've been out of town for school field trip, and then I had to go back in another one today before spring break, get a little bit of stuff done. But missed part of that. I pretty much echoed what EJ said when I sent a text to some buddies of mine. It's like, what in the world just happened? And come into 38 to 19. I was keeping up with it just a little bit, but no, let's see here. Craig J, what's up, Frank Rout? What's up, Craig J? Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you. Can't really make a case now, even if the SEC is a better conference. No, I don't think so. Not after the way the loss happened today. Even if North Carolina loses tonight, I mean, your only case for it is going to be, let's say Arizona loses tonight, North Carolina loses tonight, then it's going to be a little interesting at that point as to where the committee goes with it, because you're going to be looking at 3 conference champions. So is Tennessee. I'm saying the 1 seed's out the door. I think there's a real good possibility of it, because I don't think North Carolina loses tonight. I wouldn't bet on Arizona losing tonight as well. But we'll see. If they do, number 1's back in play, because I don't think there's anybody that can jump over those 3 teams and overtake Tennessee on that. I really don't. Let's see. Candace says Barnes has made the necessary changes each season to get this right, other than SV and Triple J's the common denominator. That's the answer right there. I can't sit here and disagree with you. I really can't. I like those guys. I really want them to do well. I really want them to go out on a high note. But it's there. The proof is there. Who didn't show up at Madison Square Garden last year? Who hasn't shown up the other times? Who didn't show up against Michigan 2 years ago? Kennedy Chandler showed up. Kennedy Chandler tried his best to put him on his back that day. Zakai Ziegler, I'm pretty sure, showed up that day. Zakai Ziegler, again, he has those games, good and bad. But, when it comes down to it at the end, he was doing his best to bring him back. He and Meshack were doing their best to bring him back. I thought it was interesting that Barnes just put Adu on the bench and went with Estrella towards the end. I don't see that as the thing going forward, but I did think that was interesting that, hey, whatever, man. Let's see what else we got here. Darius Jones. Let's see. Rick Barnes and the whole team needs to apologize to the fans for that horrible performance. Don't be surprised when Tennessee loses in the first round. I'm kind of at the point, I think it's either going to be Final Four or flop. I think it's going to be either this team takes their rest days, they get it in gear, and then they make a run, or they're going out early. I don't think there's going to be an in-between this year. I hope part of me is right, and that they go to the Final Four. I hope I'm not partially right and they go out early. But I'm really kind of at that point. Let me see if I can get a little more light here, a little dark here. But we've just seen these teams. We've seen these performances. What happens if they match up one of these teams that has a big guy that can take over? That's been Tennessee's kryptonite. It has been their kryptonite. You're probably at this point getting a 15th seed. I think they'll get past the first round. I feel confident in that. You never know, though. I mean, you never know. 15s are winning every year. Tennessee has had 2 games in a row. They've not played that great. I mean, Connect kept them in it Saturday, and they had a chance. But, we've talked about these fifth-year seniors, and I say these fifth-year, I'm not necessarily including Connect. I'm talking about the guys who've been here their entire career. Come down to James, had the opportunity to tie it last week and didn't. And again, James does a lot of good things for this team. He really does. But scoring it happens every once in a while. Vescovy, he's had a bad season. He does the X factors. All right, I'm not going to totally throw off he's had a bad scoring season. Let me rephrase that. He has done. There's some games Tennessee doesn't win without him. I still think if you're going to make that run, and I said it. I'm almost at the point that I'd assume see a Meshack or somebody. I still would like to see Rick is not countering much with Adu and Awaka. We're not seeing it much. I've said it all year. I would like to see that more. Maybe put Estrella in a little bit more with these guys. See what you're doing, especially, I mean, they did win the rebounding battle, but they couldn't do anything with Mississippi when they got it down low. They just couldn't. I mean, it was kind of the story of the year there. If they're honest, have been manhandled back-to-back games entering the tournament. Definitely today, Kentucky just shot lights out. That was one of those games you just tipped the cap to, but as great as Kentucky shot, Tennessee was in that game until the end. Let's see. His team needs a damn reset anyway. I've not liked what I've seen the last few games. When Tennessee, we've seen a different Tennessee team each time they get a little bit of a break. I'm hoping this time getting a couple extra days and, maybe you get a draw where you don't play again till next Friday. Maybe that's ideal for this team. You get a week to think about it. You get a week to go back to the drawing board. You get a week to look at what is keeping you from kind of taking that next step, possibly. I don't know. You guys have heard, my opinions on conference tournaments. I think they're a waste. I think they're a waste of time. I used the example the other night. East Tennessee State had to play Samford. Was I for East Tennessee State? You betcha. Absolutely. I was. But should Samford have had to win a conference tournament to get into the tournament after they've won the league? No, absolutely not. It's a joke. It's a joke. Add 2 more games onto the schedule, whether they're non-conference or add 2 more conference games. The season's already going to here. Make this rivalry week, kind of like in football, where the last game of the regular season college football, you normally get your Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, Ohio State, Michigan, et cetera, et cetera. I could go on and on. Do that with this. Make it Tennessee, Kentucky the last week. Make it North Carolina, Duke the last week. Make last week's rivalry week this week. Add 2 more games onto it. Just my opinion. There are people out there that love the conference tournaments and feel that that's the way. I don't agree because I'm looking at whole season opposed to 3 to 4 days. I'm looking at percentages on it. A team, especially a Southern Conference champion, one of these Horizon League or whomever, their tournament fate shouldn't rest on such a small sample, such a small percentage of it. Fifth-year seniors need to get gone. I'm just going to say I think next year this team can upgrade. I really do. I think they can upgrade. Too many guys. Not overconnect. I'm not saying overconnect, and I know that wasn't meant on that either. But again, with Vescovine, James, it's hard for me to talk about it because they've been here, they've been through a lot with this team. I hope some of these freshmen hang in there. There's times I would like to see them given a chance. I'm not going to sit and lie about it, but teams tend to favor, those older guys, and there's things that these guys do that don't show up on the stat sheet. And I know that's what Barnes uses a bit. But, let's see where I'm going to try to go level-headed with and say, let's let next week play out on it first. But it's hard not to be disgruntled with this performance today. I'm not going to sit and lie about it. Jason Betts, this is again on Rick. I'm tired of the excuses. It was a bad performance today. One thing I kind of wondered was the first time they played Mississippi State, they got down the first half big, and then they full court pressed and was able to come back. Why did we not just come out of the gates like that today? And maybe they did it some in the first half. Like I said, didn't have the opportunity to watch as much as I would have liked. I saw the second half. That was enough for me. But let's see. We will comfortably beat an outclassed 15, squeak out a win over the 7-10. Everything else is a toss-up. Yeah, that could be pretty accurate. That really could. I mean, it depends on who you get in that Sweet 16 if you get that far. I don't think Barnes will. I really don't. I think he's got 3 years left on his contract. I expect he'll go 3 years, and then you'll see replacement. We'll see. I mean, it's I just can't see it right now. He seems to me like he's still enjoying it. And I still say he's done a good job this year. Sometimes I guess my biggest criticism with Barnes is sometimes playing guys a little, maybe not giving some guys a little opportunity. I don't know how much you can put on him today with the way they shot. I mean, I don't know. That's my opinion on it. I know it's easy to blame Barnes on it, but the team shot 31% today. Connect had a rough game. 4 out of 17, 2 out of 9 for him. He did hit his all 4 free throws. He only had 1 rebound today. I mean, Ziegler, 7 out of 17, field goals, 4 out of 12. 8 out of 33. That's too many 3-pointers. That's too many 3-pointers. I mean, Mississippi State killed them scoring in the paint. The last I saw, let's see what it ended up here. 42-14 in the paint. That's pretty lopsided. Not pretty. That is extremely lopsided. Adu gave you 5. Awaka gave you nothing. Awaka 10 minutes. Adu 26. One thing I hope Rick Barnes does in offseason, they need to go out and get a bruiser. I do think it hurt them. They had Ledlam, who ended up going to St. John's. What was he, about 6'7", but he was kind of that bruiser type build. I think it hurt not having him to get in there and beat Bang a little bit. He seemed to be more of that stocky build, that guy that could get in there. He could score a little bit as well, and he could get in there and rebound. Sick and tired of Tennessee in March needs to be studied. The frustration of Rick as our coach is indescribable. He can't win in March. But there's a better coach willing to leave their team. No. I don't know, man. I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to say I'm going to let it play out just because I'm not a fan of the conference tournaments. And that's why. I think if it, again, I said it before. I said it last year when Tennessee got put out of the SEC baseball tournament. I said, I did not care. Get the extra rest. And it seemed to work out for them. The teams, and I know I'm comparing apples to oranges here, but the teams in that tournament that make those big runs tend to get bounced early in the baseball tournament. Same with basketball. 2 years ago, Tennessee wins it. What happens? They go out in the second round of Michigan, who today just fired Juwan Howard, who beat Tennessee 2 years ago, by the way. So I would say if we look back on this in 3 weeks and they're still playing, maybe we say this was worth it. And, if last weekend was not enough of a wake-up call, hopefully today was. Hopefully it was. Hopefully it resets this team. Hopefully it gets them whatever they need, man. If they need to remove head from rear end or whatever has happened these last 2 games, part of me too wonders, you had that stretch where you beat Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina. You had to bring it every night. They did bring it every night. They got that conference tournament, and I'm wondering how much that took out of them. Was it a point where they're like, we did what we had to do, and now we've packed it in 2 games in a row? I don't know. I mean, it could just be as simple as they've not played well. And Mississippi State, a team, obviously has their number. That's 2-0 for them this season. This is Mississippi State team that was on the bubble. It's a Mississippi State team that's probably firmly in at this point. And, if they play like that today, I mean, they still didn't just kill it offensively. But, if that's the team, if they play like that, they'll give teams some trouble along the way. There's no doubt about it. Let's see what we got here. Got 54 of you in here right now, man. If you guys are off on this Friday or done, pull up your old favorite beverage and join Frank Rock in the House of Orange. We'll vent together. We'll try to break it down. We'll try to describe it. We'll try to make sense of it. Who knows what we may do today. But, one thing for sure, we know Tennessee's not playing anymore this weekend. And frankly, I was counting on that to help grow this channel a little bit more. So not good for them, but we'll see on that. Just to kind of update. So obviously no more post game this weekend. I'll do a next day tomorrow, kind of talk about the game, get a night's sleep on it. I will have one later tonight as Tennessee starts their series with Alabama. I'm not sure if there's any kind of weather going on in that part of the country. I know here where I'm at, it just poured the rain all morning. So we'll see. Definitely have a post-game video tonight, not a live stream. After basketball, I'll revisit the baseball live streams. Just hasn't been a ton of interest. Starting to be a little more as we go along, but I know everybody's caught up in basketball right now. And then I've got a good week coming up to really, with spring practice getting ready to start, going to kind of start shifting a little bit of focus to football. I haven't done a football video in a long time now, so I'm going to start trying to amp that back up a little bit here as well. Big guys better get big again. They're getting babied. Yep, I agree. Reese, let's see. Darius Jones, to me, I don't think Tennessee was interested in playing today, knowing they already won the regular season title. Man, they didn't look it. From what I saw them, they did. They didn't really look like they were into it that much. And like I said, I didn't see the first half, but even the second half, I saw guys that just looked like they were there. Cannot argue with that one. I think you take a chance around with Meshack and Awaka as starters, see what it looks like. We have a week to look at it, possibly an inferior opponent in the first round. I would not hate it all if they went Ziegler, Connect, Meshack, Awaka, Adu. Now, that's going to put a little bit of pressure on. I mean, what am I talking about? The pressure's already on Connect to score. It's not going to put any more pressure on him than if James and Vescovi are out there. You've still got, hopefully, Adu can bounce back, do his thing. You've got Ziegler. You know, where's he going to start? He kind of comes off a lot of times. He finishes strong. Maybe not the greatest starter as far as how he starts in a flow. But give Meshack some opportunity. See what he does. Give him a little more scoring opportunity. Give him a little more playing time. He's your best defender, and he can score. He can do some scoring on this team. He's not asked to, but he's an underrated player on this team. I really think so. Like I said, is he going to go score 20 points? Is he going to be Dunk Connect's number 2 scorer? No, he's not, but his shot keeps getting better. And I like that, you know, there's been instances recently where they'll hit it to him, and he doesn't always take his open shot, but when he does, he's knocking them down. That, you know, if you're continuing to make that progression, that's pretty good. That's pretty good to me. Sonny and Joe combined 2 points again. I'd rather have Carr out there taking shots. Actually, Reese, they combined for a whopping 4 points today. But, yeah, I agree with you. Carr, the only thing, I don't disagree, man. I would have liked to see more of Carr. I think what hurts him is he's just a wild man. He's just a wild man out there. Because Barnes, I laughed at him. He said, well, I think Carr scored, who was it, against Vanderbilt? He was like close to 10 points, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. And they asked Barnes about him. He said, Cam Carr has to lead the nation in shots per minute. But, hey, I want a guy looking for his shot other than not looking for it. I don't know. That's that part of me where I would have liked to seen a little more of DeLeon, a little more of Cam Carr this year to kind of see. We didn't see much of him. And I don't know, man. I would rather see a freshman out here throwing up bricks than I would a fifth-year senior. That's just me. That's just me. And if I've got a more talented guy as well, maybe they're not in their place defensively. Maybe they're turnover happy. I don't know. Maybe they're careless with the ball. I think those guys in a little bit of action, we saw some good things out of those guys. I don't think you're going to see them much in the NCAA tournament unless it's a blowout or unless the foul trouble is just ridiculous. But I wouldn't have had a problem seeing more Cam Carr. I really wouldn't. I like a guy who will create, a guy who, you know, let's say he does catch fire. I think he's probably a guy who catches fire. He can really do some things on it. Tip Jackson, Caleb Calhoun saying the Vols intentionally tank. I'm drawing a blank on who Caleb Calhoun is right now. I may know if I hear it. I don't know. That would be interesting. I don't know if it's a case that they're real worried about it. I mean, if you look at it, I still say it. Is there really that big of a difference in a 1 and a 2 seed? I know what history says. I know what the numbers say about it. But if you look at the competition that you're playing, I mean, if you're a 2 seed, you're playing a 15. You're going to play the winner 7-10. If you win both of those games, you're playing either, a 3 or a 14, a 6 or an 11 on it. And a lot, you're starting to get into these matchups where the 11 is a play-in game. So by the time they get to you, they're on their 4th game at that point if they've won the play-in game with it. But, you know, you got to think your odds are strong to play a 3 or a 6 on it. Sixes, it seems to me, and I don't know the numbers, I don't have them pulled up with me. It seems to me like sixes, it's not that uncommon for them to get to a Sweet 16. Threes, it seems to me, are of the top four. I don't know, threes and fours, they're upset prone for sure on it. But let's say best case on it. If you're Tennessee, you play, if you're a 2 seed, you play a 15, you play a 7, you play a 3, and then you're playing a 1 on it. If you're a 1, you're playing an 8. This is best case, an 8, a 4, and a 2. Not a lot of difference there. There's not a lot of difference. Maybe just a little bit, but I don't know. And you guys can feel free to correct me if you feel I'm wrong on this. I have no problem with that, but I just don't see it other than statistically, historic wise. 1 seeds do advance further than 2 seeds. 1 seeds do historically win it more than 2 seeds. And, Tennessee has not been a 1 seed at any point. So, and they have not, of course, been to a Final Four at any point. So the odds are them being a 2 seed making the Final Four, the odds are probably not strong of it. You're probably going to be at this point. I think it's going to depend. Are you the? I don't really know how they seed them. I think it would make sense to go 1 through 68 and seed them like that. NCAA, we figured that out in the baseball tournament last year when Tennessee and Southern Miss both advanced, and the NCAA kind of got caught their pants down and gave it to Southern Miss on some bogus, I don't know, stat that they come up with. But the bottom line was they were seeded 1 through 16. They had nothing beyond that, because where Tennessee was seeded in that baseball tournament, you can't sit here and tell me they should have been matched up with the overall number 4 seed in Clemson like they were, even though they won that regional. So you would think, but, the most logical thing is not always what happens with the NCAA. So I'm thinking Tennessee probably gets paired with either North Carolina or Arizona, or I saw Lenardi had him projected with Houston. And, there's a part of me kind of feels bad for Lenardi because he's just a predictor. And people trash him, and so like he's the guy making the brackets. He's not. He's just giving his opinion. I guess every team that's not a 1 hates him, thinking he's against them. But I think he had him with Houston, which I don't know. I probably like Houston playing them more than I do Purdue or UConn, to be honest with you. And maybe that's the case. Tennessee could get in with North Carolina or Arizona again, I think, depending on what happens in those conference tournament. Let's see here. Did Rick even do a shoot around? How do you shoot 26% no passion? It's March. You got to get people ready to go. I would say again, too, let's see where they're at next weekend. Let's see where they're at coming up on it. And I was not happy with the performance today. But I also don't want to overreact and say, well, this is Rick in March for you. Let's see. I mean, 2 years ago, we were very happy at this point with the run they made to the SEC tournament championship, only to go out in round 2 against Michigan. So if this leads to Elite 8, Final Four, or beyond for some reason, maybe it's worth it. We'll see. I'm not excusing the performance today by any means, but I am still in wait and see where this team goes in March. Maybe they just weren't into it. Maybe they're like, whatever on it today. But, I guess if that is the case, so that's concern, because you're really at that point of the year where it's go time. It is go time. My big hopes they got it out of their system. I've talked about that throughout the year since I started the channel, hoping that these performances, and one like this, which I would rank up there at the top of worst performances of this season, I would rather get it out of the way before the NCAA tournament. And I hope that's the case. I really do. I hope this is not a trend that they're in right now. I hope it was more of I don't know that I would say an outlier at this point, just because we're periodically seeing these performances right now. But if they get it out of the way now, make a run, I think that's okay. I'd say we played like garbage, and the refs were garbage too. I've kind of come to the conclusion now, you know what you're getting out of the refereeing anymore. If you get a good officiated game, which is few and far between, that's your outlier talking about it. It's just there's no such thing as a walk or travel anymore. There's no such thing as a double dribble in college. It's just, I watch Tennessee guys get roughed up times nothing happened. I watched Mississippi State do things on the other end. And again, the referees didn't cost them the game by any means, but, be consistent. Call it both ways. It's just you can't let one group get roughed up and another not. But that's kind of been a calling card for Tennessee. They're normally a more physical team. They're not a physical team, I don't feel, this year. Maybe at times against certain teams, but for the most part, the last few years, you could count on you're going to get a physical game with Tennessee. I don't see them as a physical team this year. I feel they're more of a finesse team than they've been. See what else we got here. 55 viewers right now. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in. It's great, man. It's great for you guys to tune in. I hope we'll keep getting this thing rolling. Hopefully we'll make a good run in March Madness where we can keep building this up here. If you want the best post game on here, listen, I'm not 24/7, I'm not VolQuest or any of that, but there's any other of these YouTube channel or whatever that cover basketball, they do it when it's convenient. All right. This channel of mine with basketball and baseball, it's going to be consistent. Have I been out of the fray the last couple of days? Yep. Been a little tight, been a little away from the computer for that. So that's the only reason there hasn't been a baseball preview nor there been basketball. But, that's, I'm going to promote the channel a little bit right now. This is going to be your number one basketball and baseball YouTube channels on here. It is. And then, again, I'm not comparing it to these websites where people pay for those memberships and stuff. This thing's building quickly. It's went up fast, especially just in the last 2 weeks. And, we're still going football. I'm going to try to figure out some kind of niche with football. I'm not going the post-game route because everybody's trying to do it. It's kind of counterproductive, but find something else in between. And, hey, if you're on here and you got an idea, something you'd like to see, I'm all ears. I'm all eyes on it. I'm open to any ideas because I don't want to replicate and be what other channels are. Not saying I don't want to have their followers stuff. Not what I'm saying there. I don't want to just be another monotonous that you go to each channel and see the same thing. I want it to definitely be a little different. That's why I focus a lot on basketball and baseball. And it's because they're big passions of mine as well. But enough of the off topic here. Let's see. Kayla. Okay. I still don't know who Caleb Calhoun is. So it's I'll have to look up who that is a little bit. Devin Arnold. I know Devin was there for the South Carolina win a couple weeks ago. It was cool that Devin got to make that trip and see the big victory there. But sad performance, but it will be nice to go back home, get some rest before the tournament. On the bright, we just had a week of rest and came out of the gate ice cold. I'm hoping that getting another week off they'll come out of it this time on the other side of it. We've seen that. I felt like when they had the week off before, was it Vanderbilt earlier? They come out a little cold. There was another time they had that break and come out red hot. So I'm hoping this time, a part of me would like to see him not play until Friday next week. You get that full week off, and hopefully you reset and come out of the gates getting it. Let's see. Not saying agree. Said just passed on. Oh, so Calhoun's on Dave Hooker. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's like I said, I hadn't heard of him. Didn't know who that was. Ball's never been a 1 seed. That's why it matters. Yeah, it does. I mean, it'd have been nice to have gotten it. Otherwise, if I keep kind of repeating it, but otherwise, if the 1 seed hadn't been played out, I wouldn't worry about this that much. I wouldn't have been happy. I'm not happy with the performance, and I'm hoping it's not a sign of things to come, but we'll kind of see. Felt like they went out there and said, let's sort 33s, and if they fall, we win. If they don't, we'll go home. Those types of games are the ones I feel like gets them in trouble. But you got to feel, too, that Mississippi State is dictating that with how they played them today. They had a good game plan. They outplayed them today. I mean, they really did. They owned the inside. They had 42 points to 14 in the paint for Tennessee. surprisingly, Tennessee won the rebounding battle today, 32-30. But, each time I watched them throw it down and Adu was guarding them, they muscled him around like it was nothing. JL says 2 seed, here we come. But the only possible way, and I still think it's a stretch, that they get a 1 is if North Carolina and Arizona lose tonight. If they lose tonight, maybe a 1 is in play. Otherwise, if both of those win, as I think they're likely to do, I think you can probably count on 2 seed. 2 seed either with North Carolina or Arizona, whoever gets that 1, or one of the other 3, Houston, Purdue, or Connecticut, depending on who the overall 1 seed is. Let's see what the Ken Palm. I kind of like the Ken Palm rankings. They're pretty interesting. I think just the different metrics they break down. Ken Palm has Houston number 1, Connecticut 2, Purdue 3, Arizona 4. They still have Auburn ahead of Tennessee right now. Of course, Auburn's 24-7, 24. Tennessee's 24-8. And this is up to date. It says data includes 4 of 36 games played on Friday. So Ken Palm has it up to date right now. He still has North Carolina behind Tennessee. So I'm thinking, I know the Ken Palm is not the be-all, end-all. They go by different metrics on it. But I still think if Arizona wins their conference tournament, they're going to have a case for being the 1 over North Carolina. Looking at strength of schedule, North Carolina, Arizona are pretty close on strength of schedule metrics. Offense, defense, 7. Arizona's got the better offense. North Carolina's got the better defense. So I don't know. That's just one metric out of many that are used. I don't know what the perfect metric is for it, but this one's pretty good, and they still favor Tennessee's a 6. I mean, now Auburn, I don't think there's a chance of Auburn jumping up to a 1 seed, even if they win the time. I just can't see that. Duke's already out of their conference tournament. Iowa State's, they're the second highest team in the Big 12. They're not going to move up. Illinois is not going to move up, second team out of the Big 10. So I got to think it's between North Carolina, Arizona, and Tennessee still. So I don't know that Tennessee's fully out, but I think if North Carolina and Arizona are still playing tomorrow, yeah, it's a 2 seed. I don't think there's going to be any doubt about that. Let's see what we got here. The media in Knoxville's been telling the world the SEC tournaments doesn't matter. Try to tell me your younger person this and see what happens. They matter when a 1 seed's on the line. They matter when your tournament life is on the line. That's when they matter. If you're, I don't know. I'm mixed on it. I'm not mixed on it. I don't like them. And I'll tell you what was the final factor for me with that. It was 2 years ago. We're always hearing about conference tournaments matter. And Tennessee seemed to be on that 3-2 line 2 years ago. They go and win the conference tournament, and they don't move up at all. Auburn stays a 2, who Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, beat, moved ahead of them. But yet Auburn kept the higher seed on it. At that point, that told me the conference tournaments don't matter. They only matter when it's convenient. Something's got to be fixed with them. We got to decide either they fully matter or they don't, and we get rid of them. You guys know my opinion on it. You know my opinion. I don't like them. I think they're a waste. I think they're let me find a better. I just think they're a crock. I really do. I don't think, again, I'll go on Southern Conference, Atlantic Sun, whomever, Horizon, Ivy League, all these teams. They shouldn't have to. I don't think Ivy League, I still don't think they do a tournament as far as under the Colonial Athletic. If you play, 30 games, 35 games, but all of a sudden your tournament life depends on 4. The other 35 are out the window. You tell me where that makes sense. Somebody's got to tell me where that makes sense in the grand scheme of things. But it's par for the course for the NCAA. We'll say that. EJ Vols, that hurt my soul today. It was tough. It was tough. Tip Jackson, I think Rick Barnes is one of the classiest coaches in the country. Absolutely. Absolutely. unfortunately for Rick Barnes, he's going to be judged on where they go in the tournament. Rick Barnes is still will go down probably as the greatest Tennessee basketball coach there's been. Can we make an argument Bruce Pearl did a lot of good things? Absolutely. Took them to an Elite Eight. He turned the Tennessee program we see today is not possible without Bruce Pearl and what he did for them. The Tennessee program seen today is not possible without Rick Barnes resurrecting what Conzo Martin and to a lesser extent Donnie Tyndall tried to destroy. Conzo Martin, the main one, and that Tyndall just had the 1 year that was whatever happened with that cluster of a mess. But let's make no mistake about it. Conzo Martin took over a good situation and he put it in the toilet like he has every other program he's gone to. So, when he got fired at Missouri, people were like, "Well, I can't believe you got rid of him." I can, because he's not a good coach. He's not a good coach. He wasn't at Tennessee. He wasn't at Cal. Maybe he was at Missouri State before Tennessee. Obviously, he must have did decent to get that Tennessee job. But Mike Hamilton made the hire, and we know Mike Hamilton didn't have a great track record other than Bruce Pearl at the time. But Barnes is going to go down as arguably the greatest coach in Tennessee history. But it would be nice to see him at least get, I think, at least an Elite Eight or more. Because who knows next year? I mean, if you look at what's coming back, you're losing Connect, which is going to be a big loss. How do you replace him? James Vescovier replaceable. I'm sorry they just started. I don't want to hear about leadership. You're going to have Ziegler back more than likely. If Adu, I don't know that Adu kind of seems like the quiet type to me. Maybe he is more vocal. Ziegler will be the leader of that team next year. They need to go out in that portal, though. You only have one freshman coming in and find your next. Not saying you're going to find a Dalton Connect, but a guy who can come in and score. You need a couple guys. I would like to see a bruiser type added as well on that. Let's see what else we got here. Adu isn't physical enough. No, he isn't. Absolutely isn't. Conference tournament just for extra money. Amen. That's all it is. It's a money grabber. Jerry Green did take us to the tournament every year, but he's not up there with Jerry Green had arguably more talent than any coach in my lifetime at Tennessee. That team was loaded with guards and big guys, and he couldn't get past the Sweet 16. He let a future NFL Hall of Famer come in, take a game over when they were playing North Carolina. North Carolina had, what was Carolina that year? They were a lower seed, I think. And, they come in, took Tennessee. Tennessee was in control. Julius Peppers come in and took that game over. Tennessee had a really good team. All of Jerry Green's years. Kevin O'Neal built a lot of that, but Jerry Green added to it. Also, he just couldn't get him over that hump. Jerry Green he wasn't a great coach, but he was decent. He did get him to the tournament, but he should have with all the talent he had on those teams. NCAA not caring about athletes is only about ratings, betting, and money. When Oklahoma and Texas get an SEC, it'd be a lot tougher. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It will be. That's every sport is going up because you're adding traditionally, especially you think of Texas. Well, both teams really, all three sports, the main sports are normally pretty decent at. Euros ain't walking through the door. Thank goodness. I don't want him to walk back through that door. I was over him last year in his antics. I like a guy who will play a little physical. He got a little carried away with it last year. When he left, he could have had another year. I don't know that they encouraged. I don't know. Maybe they tried to get him to come back. I'm good with it. I'm good with him not coming back because he tried to get a little cute with his antics, and it hurt him numerous times last year with just silly technicals or silly intentional fouls along the way. So I'm good with him not walking back through the door. Other than to watch him be a spectator. There was a lot of fun moments with him, but I think Barnes was over it at that point with him as well. 50 minutes, 53 people. Probably going to look at wrapping this thing up here in a minute. I mean, we're basically right now in wait and see mode for Tennessee. We're going to have to watch. If we want to win, which there's not much, I still say that percentage is pretty low on it. We're going to have to hope North Carolina, Arizona get beat tonight. That's, in my opinion, the only possible way you're going to see a number one seed. And I'm not even sure you see it at that point. but possibly, because I think it's going to come down to those three teams. I don't see a way in Auburn or anybody could jump them, but I've not looked at all the metrics, all the strengths of schedules, and all that stuff as well. But you got to think Tennessee's 2. We'll wait and see where they go on it. It kind of looked, if Tennessee would have taken care of business, went deep into the weekend, or went into at least, I think, another win or two, that they would have probably been a 1 or the first number 2 and going to Charlotte. Who knows at this point? Who knows where that took them, just based on how they lost today. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It did nothing to help their resume today. You can lose this game closely and maybe not hurt as bad. It probably cost you the 1 seed, but that may send you to a whole other area now instead of Charlotte. I think Duke losing last night probably helped in that regard. But if Auburn makes a run, Auburn wins the tournament this weekend, does Auburn jump up to a 2 and go to Charlotte instead of Tennessee? I think it bears watching on that. But Tennessee could, when it's all said and done, they could have did a whole lot of damage today by the way they lost that game. Let's see. Oh, Kamwa could have been that missing piece. Went down. That whole thing was weird to me. He broke his hand, missed. He's been out for a bit, so it wouldn't have mattered now. But I just wonder. I know there was something I'd seen, speculation maybe his dad wanted him to go to Michigan. I mean, obviously it didn't work out well. Juwan Howard got fired today from Michigan. Him being, what did he play, a couple years at Michigan up there before he left, the old Fab Five. So he was beloved at Michigan, but it just never gelled for Juwan Howard at Michigan. And, you'll see where they go at that point in time. You've got the Louisville job on the market. There's going to be some good basketball jobs on the market. Kind of curious to see where they go there. I think a team like Vanderbilt, too, with some of these firings, let's say not necessarily Juwan Howard. I think you're just getting a glorified Jerry Stackhouse if you get Juwan Howard. But if you go get, some of these others like a Mack or a Payne or someone, who knows what they could do with a team like Vanderbilt down there. But we'll see. We'll see. This Tennessee team is what it is at this point in the year. Drew Pember, he's done good at Asheville. It's just hard for me to say that what Drew Pember's doing at Asheville would have translated to the SEC. Huntley Hatfield, I've heard nothing about him since he's left Tennessee. So I can't honestly tell you what kind of, I guess we're just mentioning everybody that's not on the team right now. I'm going to roll with what we got right now. There's some guy, to me, Chris Ledlum was the one I would like to see on the team. Tennessee had him on campus. He was enrolled. He was signed, and he left and went to St. John's. I'm not worried about these other guys. Whatever. We can set go on them about. I'm not trying to be a smart ass or nothing like that by any means. Here, this Tennessee team is what it is. Would I've liked to have seen the big guys? Sure. Would I've liked to see more of J.P. Estrella and possibly Cade Phillips? That's your answer based on what you had on these teams with it. You got to roll with that. You've got to get, how are you going to adjust in the tournament? I really would like to see more Adu and Awaka. I think that could be something, seeing those two play together. Rick Barnes just hasn't done it much. He's used them mainly as the sole big guys when they're on the court. I think there's going to be some matchups where you could withstand to go to that. And, we'll see. Jordan Gainey, you can't count on his shooting, or I would say you could go connect Gainey and Ziegler. But to me, Meshack's one of my main 5 guys on it. Of course, Connect, of course, Ziegler, Adu, and Awaka. I'd like to at least see it for a bit in time. If it doesn't work, you can adjust on it. But I don't know about that. But, just kind of get into wrapping this thing up. We're in wait-and-see mode. We'll see that Sunday night. Selection shows at 6 o'clock on that. I think I'll probably just record a video afterwards instead of going live. Not sure there's much point in that. I thought about doing maybe a live watch show while it's going on, but probably just go live. Not live, I'm sorry. I'll probably just record something right after it's over and talk about it a little bit. And then, there'll be there'll be a lot of stuff coming on this channel next week. I'm going to have plenty of time for it next week. But thank you guys for tuning in with me. We've been consistently around 55, give or take, the whole time. Not a good day for Tennessee basketball. Number one seed's probably down the drain. Our big hope here, our big hope with this is we got to hope that getting this extra couple days rest is going to be beneficial to this team. That's the hope. Am I aggravated with them today? Yes. Do I think it's end of the line? No, I don't think so. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold out for next weekend and hopefully beyond to see what this team does to it. The SEC tournament didn't matter 2 years ago and they won it as far as how it impacted the NCAA tournament. We're going to hope it doesn't have any effect this year as well going out early. But I'm going to wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for tuning in with me. My name's Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. I hope you guys have an awesome Friday and a good weekend. Post-game Alabama video will be tonight, probably right after the game. Same with the other two games of the weekend. There'll be a lot of football stuff coming this week with spring practice, and we'll get basketball previews as it's the next game for Tennessee. It is officially win or go home from this point forward. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. You guys have a great rest of the day. As always, it didn't happen today, but go Vols.